Calling all beings. Calling all beings.
Amen. Yeah.
Hello.
Welcome back to Calling All Beings. I'm your host, DJ.
And I'm your co-host, Boston Via.
And we about to get into it tonight because few things are more interesting to talk about than, maybe nothing's more interesting to talk about than Bigfoot, cryptids, and the unexplained. And we have a brilliant panel tonight. We have the guy who's like become like our co-host for this episode. He's a friend of mine from here in Colorado. He's a brilliant man. His name is Jim Myers. I'm going to bring him up. We have an old friend of the show. I don't know how many episodes we've done together at this point, but he's one of just my favorite people in the content creation community that I've met, Matt Knapp, and his friend, who I'm very excited to speak with, in Brandon Wright of Tinfoil Tales. So without further ado, party people, put your hands together for Jim Myers. Hi, Jim.
Hey, you got quite the crowd there applauding. That's amazing.
I know, hey, man, you know, I'll simulate what I can't get. I wish I was on stage
listen,
right now.
It's effective. It's effective.
Yeah, I'd love to be at a Bigfoot symposium bringing you guys on stage, but this is all I got. So you guys haven't spoken before, so I'm thinking that I'm going to get Matt to tell of his experience as our appetizer. Because at any good meal, Jim, right, you need an appetizer.
There
right?
you go. There you go.
There we go. All right. So without further ado, please welcome the host of the very successful Bigfoot Crossroads, a man who's been around for many, many years. Put them together for Matt Knapp. Welcome back, Matthew.
Thanks. Good to be here.
He looks just like Bigfoot. It's amazing.
Identical. Spit
really
image.
Does. He really does. And I want to tell you something else, Jim. Some of the paranormal stuff that Matt has told me that has happened at his place in Oklahoma is chilling. One happened, believe it or not, out in the driveway. Chilling. So I don't know. I might get him to tell that one tonight, because when he tells it, your mind can't quite go there. But
where are you in
person.
Oklahoma?
I'm in Tulsa.
Oh, Tulsa. That's where I was born. Amazing.
Oh, look at
me
that.
Too.
And we had land. We had land when I was a kid. My grandparents owned land out. Let's see. It would have been east of Tulsa, Locust Grove, I think.
Yeah, familiar with it.
Yeah. So made famous because I just wrote a tribute to Harvey Pratt, who just died this week.
Yeah, I saw that.
And
yeah, I saw that too.
He's one of the investigators on a very awful murder case that happened on the land my grandparents had donated to the Girl Scouts way back in 1923, something like that. But anyway, Tulsa.
Godspeed.
Wow, that's great.
Yep.
Yeah, Godspeed to Harvey for sure.
Bless you, Harvey. I know how much Dave Paulides really valued your friendship and your mentorship, Harvey. This gentleman right here, I love it because I just love meeting people from this state, and even better when they've had the kind of experiences that Brandon has. And to listen to he and Matt on podcasts together is just pure joy for anybody who loves the unexplained. It really is. So please, party people, put your hands together for Brandon Wright of Tinfoil Tales. Welcome, Mr. Wright. How are you, sir? Hello? Is he there? Is this pregnant pause?
You're muted.
You have it muted?
I muted myself.
Oh, okay. Better than the host muting you.
Yeah, I thought it was like Matt doing his pregnant pause thing. So I thought that's where we were going. So I was like, oh, this is
here's the truth. Matt and I are the same person.
Ah!
Ah,
I knew it. I knew
mean,
it. Right
you
there.
noticed Brandon didn't
That
show up until
explains a
they came
lot.
out with AI.
Right.
Just below me is both Brandon Wright and Matt Knapp. That other that
That's right.
avatar. Yeah. Okay.
The avatar is
And-
just speaking from AI. So
Oh, we just got to welcome a couple of people in the chat. So, paranormal. I'm trying to think. She's a psychic, card reader, tarot reader. She is Lady Zelda Kelly. She has a show as well. One of the nicest people you'll meet in. And what is he saying? So Jeff's saying, move Jim to the left of the screen. Okay. There you go.
to the
We can
left.
move you. There you are. How's that? Okay. And Standing Stones is here. Jules, our moderator. Hi, Jules. I think KS Granny is here somewhere. Valhalla Law, Rocker Chick is here from Canada. The official attorney of Calling All Beings, Valhalla Law. And I think that's everybody. Oh, and Vic is here. Hi, Vic. Hope
And
you're feeling well.
Jeff was in there, I think. No, he was just there. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, we moved. He directed us to move you, and we did. Okay, so now you have Jim right where you want him, Jeff.
That's
With that, I was thinking, since Jim has not heard Matt's experience, I thought I know another Canadian. I thought that might be interesting to have you hear that. Matt, would that
Yeah.
be okay to share your experience as sort of like our fried zucchini with ranch dressing?
Like the first one. Well, I'm assuming the one in the parking lot.
No, your first experience was the one where you I think it was was it your second or third outing when you had a sighting?
Yeah, it was very early on, 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I'd always had an interest, as we were talking before the show started. Grew up in a house that had some pretty crazy activity going on, and just always had an interest in that sort of stuff from an early age, trying to understand it and learn about it, which eventually led me to the subject of Bigfoot, because back in the day, all those things were kind of collected in the same areas of the library and, books of that nature. And so around 1997, 98, I think it was 98, got my first home computer, and learning all about the internet and the interwebs and everything, just decided to look up Bigfoot and found out that people were actually actively going out looking for this thing, which just blew my mind. I had no idea that was going on. And long story short, I ended up hooking up with some people that frequently went out in Oklahoma, where I'm from. And we were on, it wasn't really a Bigfoot outing, to be honest. We were in an active area that had a long history of sightings, but it was more of a camp out, more of a social thing. And while we were there, some of the locals were kind of taking us around and showing us different places or whatever. And a group of us had gone at some point to an area where these Bigfoot were oftentimes seen rummaging through the trash cans at night. It's in a big national park, and you have lots of different campgrounds that are kind of separated throughout the woods and everything. And so there's lots of trash cans. And in this particular area, it was actually a parking lot of a nature center, kind of like an area. There was a building there where you could pick up pamphlets and stuff like that and see some of the local wildlife. And it was at the entrance to all the trailheads that ran out through the park. And we were in the parking lot, which is surrounded by woods. We're in the wilderness. I don't want it to sound too crazy, but we weren't in like the middle of a Walmart parking lot or anything. And a guy that I was there with, we were told, keep in mind, I'm brand new at this, so everybody was like, always buddy up, always have somebody with you. Don't go off by yourself, not just for safety reasons, but that way you've got somebody there to verify what's going on and have another set of eyes and ears. So I was kind of hanging out by this guy that was, I guess, the leader of the group at the time. And he was using a night vision scope that another friend of mine had fashioned. It was actually a rifle scope. This was back before thermal imaging or anything like that was readily available. I believe this was actually a Gen 3 night vision scope, which was amazing to have our hands on that at the time. And he was looking at something in the tree line, and he called me over to him. He said, take a look at this and tell me if I'm seeing what I think I'm seeing. That's all he said. So I pulled the night vision scope up to my eye, and I'm looking through it, and I can see his finger at the other end of the scope, and he's kind of directing me around. And I pan over and I see a set of eye shine. So I start focusing on the eye shine, which I'm guessing is about 30 feet, maybe 30 yards. I don't know. It's close, but I'm at an angle, and the night vision scope kind of has like some magnification to it, but I'm not sure how much, but it's got a little bit. And these eyes are forward facing. That's the first thing I notice. And they seem about head high off the ground for a human, not an animal. I had spent my life in the woods, hunting and fishing and everything. My mind's racing, trying to figure out what I'm looking at. And I'm focusing on the eyes, and I'm looking, and that's when I realize this is a face looking at me. There's a face. It's not an animal's head. It's not a deer. It's not an owl. It's a face like a human. And the eyes are glowing extremely brightly. It's got hair kind of covering its face in the same fashion of like if you let your own beard and facial hair grow out. It was that pattern, but it was much thicker. The jawline was very wide. The area above the eyes was a huge, like, pronounced brow ridge with a forehead that sloped straight back, but the hairline started at the eyebrow area. There was no bare skin on the forehead at all.
Wow.
And the nose was very squat and wide. The mouth was very wide. And the thing that really stood out to me is this thing had an underbite to it. The bottom jaw was sticking out farther than the top jaw. And there was a limb, like a small tree limb that kind of intersected across the face at the bottom, right below the mouth. So I couldn't see like the chin or anything below the chin. So I'm just seeing most of the face. And the same thing was kind of happening at the top of the head, where it's kind of like looking out between these two branches at me. And I stared at this thing, I guess, kind of in shock, to be honest, trying to understand what was going on. And my mind's racing. Is this somebody messing with me? Or is that somebody in a mask? And I'm like, there's no way that's a mask. The eyes are glowing. Like nobody knew we were going to be here at this time and everything. And I took the binocular down and I look at him, and now I'm blind in one eye. I can't see anything. And I'm just like, is that a face? And he's like, I think so. And I pull it back up, and the thing's just gone. It's no longer there. There was no sound, nothing. And where it had been standing, the hole that it was looking at me through, where the face had been, that hole was no longer there. So in hindsight, I think it was like holding down a tree limb and like peeking out. And whenever I looked away, that was its chance to get out of there, and it let go of the tree limb and took off.
Wow.
But because of that night, I spent like the next 7 or 8 years researching that area intensively every opportunity I had. And it set me on a course that here we are 25 years later.
This question right here, I think the answer is going to be that you're looking through night vision.
Yeah.
You couldn't see. Okay.
Yeah. Through the night vision, the skin on the face, what little bit I could see, was a lighter color than the hair. That's all I could really tell. In night vision, that doesn't really mean much. I couldn't tell you what color the hair was or the eyes specifically. The eyes were almond shaped, is how I described them, rounded on the outside and more teardrop shaped towards the inside. They were larger than humans, at least in appearance to me. The jaw was very muscular and chiseled, but the cheekbones sat really high and were very pronounced. But I remember the sides of the cheeks, like the jawbone, was wider than the temple area of the head. That was another thing that really stood out to me. The
Wow.
facial structure was not human.
Wow. Like the Hulk looking, kind of Marvel Comics looking with
At the time, this is kind of crazy, but like whenever I was trying to describe it to people, the thing that kept on coming to mind was the old Wolfman from the Lon Chaney films.
Wow. That's really cool. Canine Mind helped too with they're called Yowie where he's from because he's from Australia. But anyway, I'm sorry. So this is meant to be an open forum. So just fire away. Go ahead, Jim.
Go ahead. No, there's two Jims. I had the question too, but let him go ahead.
No, it sounded like you were echoing, and I think it's gone now. Try again.
So, Matt, I was wondering if, I do have an echo on my end. That's weird.
You do, yeah.
Not sure why that is. Just a second. Let me just check my settings. See
what mic you're using and stuff. I don't know if you're using a Rodecaster, right? You notice that, Matt? I think one of the Rodecaster settings, it'll kind of do that.
Yeah.
So we're going to be on, I don't know if he's using a Rodecaster yet or not, but yeah.
No, this is a...
You're good now. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, I don't know what the echo is, but do you think that the fact that you could see aspects of the face was due to the brightness of the eyes that were shining on the face?
No, I was using a night vision scope, so that's why I attribute to it. The parking lot that we were standing in had sodium lights in it. So there was plenty of light, but it was inside the tree line. I was kind of like standing at an angle. I've actually gone back and posted photos kind of showing like where I was in relation to it and everything. And it was inside the tree line, not too far, maybe 10, 15 feet or so. So the brush wasn't real thick where it was standing at or anything. And I just always attribute it to the night vision scope itself as why I could see it so well. The eyes were definitely glowing extremely brightly in the night vision scope, which that particular scope did not have an IR illuminator on it. Or if it did, it was switched off at the time. Because whenever you turn it on, it's like a flashlight beam basically.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah.
Because they're I've seen their eyes so bright that they illuminate even the foliage around their face. And so that I was curious as to why, but that makes sense if there was some light in the parking lot that was actually illuminating his face.
That will really distort, even potentially eye glow, because you kind of need that black backdrop, behind, because, your eyesight's being washed out by those big lights overhead.
Right.
So I did many, I've done a couple thousand hours with MVGs on for my job, previous life. Anybody, Bia, do you have anything, or I'm going to go to Brandon, but yeah, go ahead.
I was going to mention, you said that ever since then it changed your life. Why do you think it happened so quickly, your first outing?
That's a great question. Again, this is only speculation. We were in an area that, like I said, had a long history of these things. And in this particular area, it's campgrounds. And you have a lot of people that come in there and camp in specific times of the year. And then for the rest of the year, it's usually very sparsely occupied. You do have a town that's right at the edge of the park. So you have a lot of locals that use the park during the off season. But my belief is that in this particular area, and this isn't the only place it happens, but they've kind of gotten used to people and they are much more brazen. They don't really care if they're around people there. Like I said, they were raiding trash cans. That's why we were in that spot. And this is something where I became friends with people that lived in the town. I would go to this town all the time. I would stay there for, weeks on end. And I actually knew somebody that worked at the local police department in dispatch. And campers in the park would call 911 because they're seeing Bigfoot in the park without having any previous knowledge of Bigfoot being in the area at all. So this was something that, you know, like I said, would happen quite often. The guy that ended up being my research partner back then was from that town, and his first sighting took place in the same park, and he was dropping his brother off at a Halloween party, and he was driving back across this low water bridge, and this thing was just squatting on a rock in the creek like 30 feet away from the bridge. And he stopped the car and was sitting there looking at it, and this thing didn't care. Eventually it stood up and walked across the creek and walked off into the tree line. But in this area, they've just apparently gotten used to people over the years. And I find similar things happen in parks and campgrounds all over the United States like that.
How far from Tulsa was that location?
That's down in Sulphur, so it's about 3 hours.
Okay.
Wow. Thank you, Lady Zelda Kelly, for gifting 10 Calling All Beings memberships. We greatly appreciate you. And check out Lady Zelda's channel. She's done readings on everything, a lot of different true crime cases. Police have sought out her help, and she's just an amazing and lovely person as well. I want to go to Brandon and sort of hear about how you got into this, Brandon, because I've listened to some of your episodes, and you're really an amazing host, and your ability to actively listen to very long narratives and then elicit details and parse out details from that is quite impressive. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into this?
Honestly, because I wasn't doing music anymore.
You're like, hey.
I've always been a band person, and I had all the equipment, and we weren't doing anything. And I kind of just said, back in 2020, when the world kind of got shut down, I decided I was going to talk about some of this weird stuff that me and my friends had talked about, but little did I know that everyone was already doing shows like I wanted to do. So I came up with the name and just kind of sat on it for a couple of years. And then in 2022, I started it. But the reason I was interested in doing stuff like this is because I had my own experience back in 2007.
Well, I would love to hear about it, and the area you're from, because very interesting about these two Native American named rivers, the Wabash, and the other one is, can you pronounce it for me?
The Mississinawa.
The Mississinawa rivers, and what is going on. So we're going to get into your research area, but please continue with that. And I also want to real quickly just thank Kim P for becoming our new member. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. We do have a great, as you can tell in the chat, we have a great cab family over here. It's a really, really positive group of people. And please continue, Brandon.
So basically, it's a long story and it's a weird story, but the quick version of it is I was getting off work one night and something happened to be in the middle of the road, and the guy in front of me swerved to miss it. And then when I came up on it, it was I don't even know how to describe it other than it looked like a torso with legs, and it was very glitchy looking. The way it moved was not natural. It was moving like someone was wrapped. I thought it was a drunk person in a blanket or something like that at first, because the way it was moving on two legs didn't make any sort of sense. And they weren't getting out of my way either. So I had to swerve to miss it too. And when it walked past the window, I could tell that it wasn't a person, because there was no head and there was no arms. It was just black torso. Made no sense.
Oh,
so at this point, once it got behind me, I drove up to the parking lot, which is the DOT parking lot. And I turned in there because my coworker had pulled in there. And this was at like 4 or 5 in the morning. So it's still black outside, and it's in February, so it's still dark and cold. I get up next to him, and he asked me if I saw it. He said it didn't have a head, and I convinced him, let's go back and see what this thing was. And once we got back down the road, which is maybe just a couple hundred feet, quarter of a mile, not very far from where we pulled into this parking lot, there's a large black canine, I say a dog, laying across the road. And it wasn't there when we just drove by, otherwise I would have ran it over. So my brain thinks of this is clearly what was walking in the road, not putting two and two together that a dog wouldn't be walking bipedally. So my stupidity of being naive about the whole situation, I got out of my vehicle to walk up to it because I'm thinking there's a dead dog on the road.
Oh boy.
And
Brandon, you're the right kind of person. Please continue. This is great.
someone told me that I am the stereotypical white person because there's something scary in the middle of the road. So of course the white guy's going to go out there and check it
Don't
out.
get out of the car.
Brandon's like, hey, I mean, a torso and then a dog. I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously you would get out of the car, right, Pia? That would be your first thought.
So I get out to walk up to this thing and it turns up, like it lifts its head up off the ground and looks backwards. And my headlights are shining at it and its eyes are reflecting like a yellowy color. And it lets out this like a very low rumbly growl. And I'm like, uh-oh. I just stopped because it's not dead. I'm thinking it's a dead dog. My coworker's in the back screaming at me to get back in the vehicle. And at this point, I'm frozen up just watching because I'm like, what is this thing doing? So it's trying to stand up. And it like stumbles. And I'm still thinking like it's a dog that's been hit by a car. Like that's how I'm processing it. And it stands up, but it stands up like a human. So it's on its back legs and we're eye to eye. And I'm like 15 feet from this thing and we're staring at each other for just a couple of seconds. And then it crouches back down in this weird hunkered position, but it brings its front legs or arms or whatever you want to call them up to its chest. And it hunkers down like in that, like a dog would kind of like hunker down to take a crap kind of like position, but it walks off sideways, goofy ways. I don't know how to describe it. But it still walked off on its back legs and went down into this little ditch line and then off towards the woods. But the woods have a fence around it, so I don't even know how it would have gotten into the woods. So, but we didn't see it anymore. Then after it disappears, so we're out of our headlights, I go back to my vehicle. And at this point, my coworker finally got out of his vehicle and he walks up to where my door is and we're standing there talking about like, what the heck did we just see? And I look down on the ground and there's a field mouse standing between us and it's also on its hind legs.
Oh, that's bizarre.
The mouse is soaking wet and it's cleaning itself. It's got its front paws wiping its fur, wiping its face. And I take my foot and I push it. I try to nudge it. He doesn't even care that I touched him and moved him. He just keeps on cleaning itself, oblivious that we're standing there.
How tall? Like 3 inches?
Just about normal size mouse, not very big.
Wow. Oh my God. Melissa's saying, run. Sorry.
It's like you're,
obviously
it's like you're in
guy,
a,
Melissa. So,
you're in a special portal area or something. That was weird.
So I go home. He goes home. I get on the internet. And I've talked with Matt about this recently. Like I've been trying to find the old website that because I drew a picture. I sketched what I saw. I uploaded it and someone said it was a Michigan Dogman. I've never heard of a Michigan Dogman at that time. I was familiar with Bigfoot and stuff like that because I was always interested in that type of stuff as a kid. But I didn't believe in any of this stuff. Like I was always just been like, oh, that's not real. Thought it was interesting, but I didn't believe in it. So the first thing I'm thinking of is a werewolf because what else would have been? But I thought it was a person in a costume for a long time because werewolves aren't real. Like that stuff's just made up crap. Like this isn't true. But the coworker didn't want to talk about it anymore. Like when I got back to work, he was mad that I was bringing it up and people were talking about it, laughing at me, saying I ran over a werewolf. So he shut that down. And so for 16 years almost, I basically didn't ever speak about it because the other person that can verify it wants nothing to do with it. So that's how I got to do the show because I wanted to talk to people that had similar experiences like I did.
I want to say a couple things. First of all, you made my night with this narrative, and there's nothing that can ruin my night now, having heard that. That is so incredible. Second, I want to ask you, had you heard of, Matt may have heard of this person and Jim may have, Dr. Colm Kelleher, who was one of the originals at Skinwalker Ranch when the government owned it. Dr. Colm Kelleher was one of he was Irish-born scientist that was sent out to Skinwalker Ranch. Had you ever heard of him?
I have not.
You have not. Okay. If you go and rent that movie on Amazon called Age of Disclosure, he will talk about this. Actually, no, it's in American Sasquatch. Right, Jim? He's in American Sasquatch.
Um,
He is. So you will hear Dave Pilates interview him, and he will tell you 100% that they had werewolves and other cryptids on the ranch. So you're just so you know that they're being seen elsewhere as well. You know what I mean? I know you know that, but Dr. Colm Kelleher was a very highly paid, very well respected scientist for the government when the government bought Skinwalker Ranch for the purpose of investigating cryptids and UFOs and everything. And they'd seen I never heard Colm Kelleher talk about Bigfoot, always UFOs until American Sasquatch, which Jim Myers was in, by the way. So, also want to get to the chat here because there's some people have some things here. All right. Let's see. How did you feel when you saw it? Scared, excited, or both?
Directed towards me, I was confused. Like, I wasn't afraid of it, which everyone says, like, oh, you'd been terrified. No, I was still confused. I thought it was a dead dog or like a hurt animal. I wasn't thinking of anything cryptid or anything. Because again, I'm very skeptical. Even today, I'm still very skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't see it as anything out of place other than it was like a large black German Shepherd or a dog like that, I'm thinking, and it got hit by a car. And then clearly it was a little bit different than that, but I don't know. So no, I wasn't really excited or afraid. It was just more confusion than anything.
Our moderator, Jules Brandon, wanted you to know she is an Indiana girl and has had a Bigfoot sighting, a UFO sighting when she was born and raised in Indiana. And also, I believe she had some paranormal experiences as well. Canine Mind Help 2, our Aussie brother, is wanting to know if you're still playing and what instrument did you play?
I have not done a band since 2020, and I was the death metal vocalist.
Oh, nice.
So cool. Phil is obviously from Massachusetts. He's from Leominster. And MA, it's called Monsterland, which is also the basis for a book by Ronnie LeBlanc, who's a colleague of y'all's. So I know there's one area. I didn't know it was Leominster. I thought it was that swamp area, Bia. You know where am I thinking of? The Triangle. There's that movie. There's a documentary about an area in Mass where there's a lot of cryptids and stuff.
Bridgewater.
Thank you.
Oh, there you go.
You and I both, Brandon, will be taken out first in horror movies. I agree. And so Rocker Chick is wondering if it's another dimension in that area. Is that something that you've thought about? Or
there is a lot of lore that I can get into about stuff like that, but I seen someone said something about Marion, Indiana. That's actually not too far from where I live, and which is right by the Missinawall. But
wow.
Missinawall area, the river has something called 7 Pillars, and the Native Americans around here used to say that the river system was their spirit, not guide, but like basically like the spirit guides or whatever. They use that as the pathway for the spirits to travel down these river systems. And the sacred area that they called 7 Pillars, they used to think, this is coming from one of the still tribal members today, he said the ancestors used to think that these old pillars used to have like a supernatural ability to have like portals to the spirit realm. And then he also, which we had it recorded, but the footage got erased, he talked about having talked with the elders or whatever, and they believe that maybe some of the stuff that is going on was something that the elders from hundreds of years ago summoned these things as protective spirits. And now that the Native Americans are no longer here on these lands, these spirits are still wandering, and they're in the forms of these werewolves or dogmen or whatever everyone's been reported seeing.
Wow. I just want to open it up for questions, so please have at it, everybody. Matt's like, I've asked him everything I need to ask him. But anyway,
I ask him stuff every day, you know? Like, why were you trying to poke a werewolf with a stick?
Yes. What are you doing, Brandon? We
We were
want you
trying
to
to play fetch.
Yeah, right.
So I was actually out in the woods with someone recently, and when we were filming, this was last week, I think it was, and I made the joke of, should I bring a dog whistle? Like
Like a
if you
silent
blow-
whistle.
Yeah.
Hmm.
They call it a dog man. So is it going to react if I blow one of those whistles that I can't hear? Like, I said, I'm kind of joking, kind of somewhat serious. I was like, I don't know if anyone's ever tried that. Like, I'll be stupid enough to see what happens.
I've never heard of anyone doing it.
Bye, Vic. I hope you're feeling better. Have a good night. So, like I said, we kind of get to know all these people that are here. Bia's friend Joanna is here from North Shore Nacho Night. Wow, man. Matt, what were your thoughts when you've heard what Brandon has to say about how he handled that situation?
I mean, it kind of lines up with what I've heard over the years, time and time again. I feel like my initial encounter, out there, I was out there actively looking for them, which kind of changed the psychological aspect of it. But the part where you spend the next good chunk of your life trying to rationalize and explain it away, even though you know what you saw and what you encountered, that was something that resonated with Brandon. It was exactly, he went through he's still going through it. We still talk about this. Like, he's still trying to explain it and rationalize it and convince himself it was just a dog walking on two legs, and that the torso on two legs that didn't have a head was just,
and a mouse walking on two legs.
Yeah, and Stuart Little coming up to
Stuart
her
Little.
was just completely normal.
Hey, it is Indiana. We are weird here.
That is true. But yeah, this is something, that witnesses go through. There's a psychological factor here, where you try to rationalize and explain it all away, because that's easier to accept than I experienced and saw something that's not supposed to be there. And how will everybody else think of me, if I try to share this earth-shattering information? Because for witnesses, it's a really big deal. And then whenever they go to people that haven't experienced something, which Brandon has also dealt with, you kind of get these looks, it's kind of like, well, I mean, sure you saw something.
I never talked about it because people are going to think you're a lunatic. Like, that's the honest truth, is like, you can't go up to someone and say, hey, I saw a werewolf, and they're going to look at you like, what kind of drugs were you on?
Exactly.
And you tell them like, oh, I saw the mouse too, and then I saw a headless, armless thing first. They're like, all right, you were clearly on like mushrooms or something, because that doesn't make any sort of sense. But my thing about all this is, when I tell people, if it was just me, I would probably never even brought it up. But the fact that there was someone else that also saw it too, even though they won't talk about it, just confirmed to me that I wasn't asleep. I wasn't making it up. Like, clearly we saw something, but he is 100% sure that it was just a dog. And yeah, it looked 100% like a very large dog, but I don't know of any dogs that walk on two legs. So that's where
I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir. I thought you were done. Please continue.
No, that's all I was saying.
Can I suggest to you that if you would have panicked and sped away immediately, then your story, you might not feel as comfortable with the credibility. Not only that you had a witness, but the fact that you stayed there, you saw it, you put your eyeballs on it. Whereas a lot of us, like myself and Bia, would have been like, hey, hit the gas right now. We go in the other direction. Jim, so I and you've come to the right place, Brandon, and it's ironic that the mystery guest was to be, but he's doing an interview tonight, is Stacy Brown Jr. from Florida. And Stacy has also investigated Bigfoot, cryptids, paranormal, haunted stuff. So Stacy will put himself in the most precarious situation. So I feel like we need to get you two together on
I've
an
had
episode.
him on my show.
Oh, you have? Oh, well,
Yeah.
Geez. Okay. How'd that go?
It was good. Yeah, it was
Okay.
about a little over a year ago. He's been on my show.
Okay. Cool.
We talked about how he's been trying to fight the government to get to release some of the documents that he has to pay for when it comes to like Bigfoot stuff. He's trying to lawyer up. So I don't know whatever went on after that, but that's the time frame of when we spoke last year.
Yeah, I've said to him if he couldn't come tonight because he's conducting an interview, and he'll put them in the can and then he'll release them afterward, kind of like podcasting does. And so I don't know if he's going to be here, but we're definitely going to get him on as a solo guest. So I'm glad you guys got to talk. Jim, what are your thoughts? How would you want to react in that situation? And or what would you like to ask Brandon as well?
It's a good question, because the concept of dogmen or wolfmen really frightened me. And I think between Sasquatch and dogmen, you typically hear, this wasn't your case, but you typically hear that the aggressive attacks, the aggressive behavior happens from the dogmen. And not always, but the stories I've heard of, of farms being attacked and besieged was dogmen. It wasn't Bigfoot. And there's also stories about Native Americans trying to pit those two races, if you want to call it that, against each other. And it's just, if I had been there, knowing what I know now, I don't think I would have gotten out of the car, but that's the scene in the movie where everybody's like, no. And then you're going to get slaughtered, because that's what always happens to the guy that gets out of the car. But this was a new concept for you, but yeah, I think here's the question that came to my mind as you were telling your story. The first thing, the headless, whatever that was, do you think they were the same being that had just transferred into something else, a different shape?
That is honestly how I've come to somewhat agree to how to explain it. I used to think it was different because that thing was so much bigger than the dog. The vehicle I was in was a Ford Explorer, and I looked online. I think there's it's 6.5 feet, I think is what it was, like the height of it or what, to the top. Mm-hmm. This thing was taller than my vehicle because I'd never seen the top of it when it walked past my driver's window.
Wow.
The first thing.
The first thing.
Okay.
And the legs are super thick on it. Someone said it was a Bigfoot. They said it could have been a Bigfoot because they don't have a neck, and they could have had its head hunkered down. So I don't think it was a Bigfoot, because the way it was moving was not anything normal for movement. It was moving very erratic. And I've said before, the best description that I ever thought of, if those weird wacky arm things that flap around like when the wind blows, that's the way it was. He would walk and its body would twitch like that. And it didn't look natural. Like the movements were very glitchy. Like I don't know how to describe it other than it was not normal of how it was moving. But it was so much larger than what the dog was, because I'm 6'3" and the dog was my height. Like we're eye to eye. But whatever the first thing was a lot bigger than the dog.
But then the dog lying in the road.
Yeah, I don't know.
Almost as though it wants to be hit. It wants to create a situation with the vehicle because it's lying right in the middle of the road.
Well, it's in the same spot where the thing was walking too, because the thing was right in the middle of the road. So this is why I thought it was the same thing at first, because it's in the same position, in the same spot. But I've thought about this over the years, and especially since I started doing the podcast and talking with Matt. The first thing could have been, and this is going on the supernatural element or whatever, but maybe the first thing was whatever it was taking shape, and it took shape into the dog. So the reason it didn't have the head or the arms, and the reason it was moving all weird, is because it was trying to manifest itself or shapeshift or whatever these things do. And it was
caught it mid-cycle.
Yes, and it was on the ground because it took so much energy to manifest itself into the dog. And maybe that's the reason it didn't bother me, because it was tired. Like it had just spent all this energy. That's why it was laying there. I don't know. But then someone asked me if I thought it was the mouse. I was like, well, I never took it that way. Maybe all three of it, or the mouse has nothing to do with it. It was just a random mouse. But the rational person in me says it was a dog that was trying to eat a mouse. That's why the mouse was all wet. The dog got hit by a car, broke its front leg, so it was hopping around trying to walk. That's why when we came up on it, it looked weird. And all weird because dogs don't walk like that. And that's why when I came back, it saw me and still tried to walk off and held its legs up because his front legs were broken. And that is what I've told myself for all these years of what it had to have been. The problem is I can't go back to the first thing again because it was so much bigger than the dog. So my way of rationalizing it still doesn't make any sort of sense.
And both of you saw the same things, both objects, both figures. You
Yes.
both saw them. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, because the first thing he said to me was it didn't have a head. Which,
yeah.
So that was confirmation to me that I literally just saw what he saw because I didn't see a head on it either. And then we both saw the dog. But he was convinced it was just a normal dog, and he didn't want people thinking we're crazy, so shut up about it.
We've got some great questions here, but I want to read something because I want to set the table for what at least the government's opinion is on this in terms of Lou Elizondo and what he knows. So let me put this up on screen. I will zoom in as best I can, and then I'll read it for you. This is a transcript from Lou Elizondo, which describes perfectly why most people are too psychologically frail to handle full disclosure. And Lou's quote is, quote, "Imagine everything you've been taught, whether it's through Sunday school or regular formal education, or what our political leaders have told us. And yes, maybe even our mothers and fathers around the dinner table have told us, or maybe at bedtime, about who we are, right? In our background, in our past. What if all that turned out to be not entirely accurate? In fact, the very history of our species, the meaning of what it means to be human, to be a human being, and our place in this universe. What if all that is now in question? What if it turns out that a lot of things we thought were one way aren't? Are we prepared to have this question with ourselves? Are we prepared to recognize that we are not at the top of the food chain, that we are not the alpha predator, and that maybe we are somewhere in the middle? Okay. So let me take that off screen, go back with you guys. Reactions to that, starting with Matt and then going to Bia and Jim and Brandon.
I mean, I've constantly gone back and forth with all this stuff. I told you the other day on the phone that like I'm kind of putting together this new theory line of thought and everything that kind of plays into all of that stuff. And just some of the stuff, once you start going way back in history and reading things and seeing how different things were interpreted back in the day and how they've kind of moved forward with that information, how we've kind of just been like stuck on these certain trains of thought forever. And we've just built off those. And maybe some things need to be torn down and started back over. And I think Brandon's case is a situation of that, where some of these things aren't so cut and dry. And this new way of looking at things, which, like I said, it's not even like a belief by any means, but it's just a new way of looking at things and seeing if all the pieces fit. And so far, I haven't gotten to a place where it didn't make sense in terms of an explanation, if you're willing to accept what Lou Elizondo is saying, that everything you've been taught is wrong. And maybe that's a good thing. You know, maybe it was taught that way for a reason. I'm kind of the thought that a lot of people, you know, we see how people react to things on the internet every day, you know, which I think is a pretty good barometer for the human race and how we react to things. We're much braver, you know, we're willing to say things we wouldn't say in person. So I kind of think that sometimes things are told to us or disclosed or kept secret for our own good and well-being. I'm not sure a lot of people could handle it. I mean, just look at the reactions you get whenever you try to tell someone. Just in preparation, last night, I told my wife, Leslie, again, we've been together this is our 20th year together. I told her again, I just want you to know, just one more time, I saw a Bigfoot on multiple occasions. It's in our bed. We're laying in bed together. Nobody else is around. And her reaction was still the same. I think that you believe you saw something that you think was a Bigfoot. That's my wife.
Yeah.
Now think about strangers. Think about the general public, you know, and especially now in today's climate, if the world leaders came out and said, hey, Bigfoot's real. Oh, they're lying to us.
Yeah.
Bigfoot must not be real. Why do they want us to believe Bigfoot's real? That can't be true now. So, I mean, it makes sense to me.
Yeah. If you've done what we're doing in terms of either researching or interviewing people who have had these experiences, already we've gotten to the point where we understand that things are not what we thought, that the world is not the way we thought it was. The fact that we're even talking about Bigfoot and dogmen and mice walking around on their hind legs, you know, it's like, and that wasn't a hologram that Brandon saw. Those were real. And so it's just, I think, at least in my case, I can say I've gotten past the point of saying, yeah, things are definitely not the way they seem or the way they seemed growing up. So when people tell me, you know, very, very often, not every day, but very often, who come into our museum or whatever, and they'll say, well, you know, some people think that these things are real, and I'll hear them talking. I was doing some repairs in my museum, and so I had the opportunity just to listen to people around me talking who didn't know I was listening to them. And they were all, several people were saying, well, at the end of when you get done with our museum tour, you put your token into one of 3 boxes. Yes, maybe, or no, Bigfoot exists. And the grandfather was talking to the others, and he goes, well, some people think they exist. And I thought, yeah, that's the way most people would believe. Or, you know, some people think they exist, but what he's saying is they don't really exist. But some people think they do. Those crazy people. So almost nothing surprises me anymore. I mean, just watching YouTube videos, much of which could be AI now because it's so sophisticated. But if you look at the videos that came out 10 years ago, there's some bizarre stuff out there that you can't explain that freaks me out, like white humanoid things in the woods. And, you know, I'm just like, I don't want to meet one of those. Last thing I want to meet.
Even in Massachusetts, I've heard about the little child in the woods kind of thing, the little children in the woods, like it's really, really freaky. And
yeah,
we do need to get into a little bit of what is going on in that particular area that Brandon's working on. But I wanted to get Bea in here. Bea, did you have comments, questions, either on what Lou said or what Brandon spoke about? I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I just want to couch this with you and I have brought up the topic of Bigfoot with some of our true crime colleagues, and they're really like, they don't even know how to process it. But what are your comments?
Right. Well, I think I think I've told you before, like, I don't think we're meant to know everything. And I also think that the government does not want to cause any panic, and especially if it's something that they may not have full control over. Right. So I do believe in the possibilities that there's more out there. And I just think it's kind of individual whether you're receptive to and have an open mind to hearing what else is out there. Because, you know, just little things like religion, like not everybody believes in the same thing. And I also feel like when you have an experience, it's good to surround yourself with other experiences so that you can, we want to feel a part of something or understand or have somebody understand what we're going through. Like Matt's mentioning, his wife is trying to rationalize in her head what he experienced, but he knows what he experienced. So it's great that you have a community that can come together and kind of just listen to your experiences and believe you. You know what I mean? So but I mean, I think it's definitely, I'm open to the possibilities of that. I don't know everything, and I'd like to learn about what else is out there too.
How would you process that, Bia? Had you seen something like Matt and your husband is not believing you?
I mean, I think I would be, I would probably be like, you don't understand. Like, you can't understand what I went through. And I would just probably like shut down and not want to talk about it, because if somebody's not understanding or has an experience, then you don't feel that connection of what's going on. So
Yeah, that would be very upsetting if your significant other doesn't believe you. I want to get to some of the questions in the chat, and then we'll go back to kind of our internal discussion. So let me see what we got here. All right, we got through that, and there we go. I love the one where Canine Mind says, I love that both he and Brandon would be the first killed in a horror movie. I love that one. This is the other one I was thinking about, whether or not, with your case, Brandon, if it was coming in and out of another dimension. But then I also liked your theory of the shape shifting. But is this something that you've thought about, the other dimension, that it was kind of phasing in and out, that kind of predator like thing that we saw in Missing 411, The Hunted, etc.?
Yes, because that is how my mind processed it now lately, because once I've started finding out more about this stuff and I've heard people talk about interdimensional beings and everything. Again, I'm not a scientist, so I don't know if there's such other things from other realms, but who's to say there isn't? Let's just say I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on here for a second.
Please do.
Let's just say that everything that people are experiencing, kind of what Lou Elizondo has alluded to, let's just say that the things that people are experiencing are things that have been around our entire lives. We're just not privy to it.
Mm-hmm.
So the things that we're experiencing, things that other people are experiencing, what happens if they're actually some of the same things that we've experienced all throughout history? We just call them different things by different names. You can do that with UFOs. You can do that to cryptid. You can do that to paranormal stuff. Like, what if it's all been some of the same stuff? Like, over here, I'll use puckwudgies. I've seen people use the word puckwudgie.
Yes.
Little human sort of figures. Over in Europe, we've had leprechauns. They've had elves. They've had little humanoid figures. Here we're called puckwudgies. Over there they're called something else. But again, they're the same similar descriptions of little humanoids. We have little people here. They supposedly look like little Native Americans, but they also say they look like puckwudgies. What if the things that we're seeing and the things that people are experiencing, again, go back to being some of the same things? We just call them something different throughout time, throughout history, depending on where you're at. They had Dover demons because someone's seen a pale crawling looking thing on the road one day. Well, now we got pale crawlers, which the new fancy term is the creepypasta version of rake.
Right,
but again,
right.
The people are describing are the same things. And if you honestly look at what people are seeing for those type of things, little pale humanoid creatures, they look very similar to what people say gray aliens look like. The bulbous head, the frail bodies. And if you go back to the old stories of fairies, people used to get abducted by fairies. It sounds very similar to people talking about being abducted by aliens. So maybe, again, the things that we all experience has been happening for hundreds, thousands of years. They were just called something different. But now we're calling them other things because we've evolved and they're evolving with us. So they're always one step ahead. So maybe the fairies are now quote unquote aliens. The fires in the sky that people used to paint about, the chariots of the gods or whatever they call hundreds of thousands of years ago, now we're calling them UFOs or UAPs. So again, I think there's been a lot of stuff going on throughout history. We've just not been able to see it enough.
I can actually add on to your point by religious scholar Dr. Diana Pasulka, who is both a UFO researcher and a professor of Catholic studies at in North Carolina, Wilmington. And she looks at certain artwork that is in religious places and stories in the Bible, and believes that those, as you said, those little gray aliens, those could be angels. They could look like angels. And also the Romans were talking about flying, flaming shields. And there's other artwork and iconography from ancient times that look like what we see as UFOs today. So yes, absolutely. Same thing by a different name. So yeah. This one right here, I'd like you guys to take a shot. Everybody on the panel to take a shot at this one. Anything about human hybrids? Has anybody thought about that or have any thoughts on that?
Ancient Egypt had a lot of hieroglyphics of those type of things. They had animal heads on a lot of human figures.
Yep, the Anubis.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Matt, any thoughts on that, my friend?
I mean, it's kind of double-edged sword, because throughout human history, we do have those type images, and you know, different cultures talk about those type things. So how much of it is influencing people to believe that they saw something that they didn't, or make up stories of something, you know, that didn't happen? I know that a few people I've talked to in the dogman community, whenever you bring up the old, you know, tales of the Dogman Island and the Dogman soldiers and everything, they adamantly are like, no, that's not the same thing. That has nothing to do with this. That's just folklore. You know, so I don't know, man. I think personally, all that stuff is there for a reason. I think we are talking about those things for a reason. And you know, it's chicken versus the egg at that point.
Mm-hmm.
There's different, and I've seen someone actually just commented this too. Think about how ancient Egypt built pyramids. There's also pyramids in South America. There's also, I believe, pyramids in China. Why was everyone starting to build pyramids? Like, is that the point that we all started evolving to where the human mind just said, okay, this civilization is going to start building a pyramid? All across the world, they had similar ideas to start building a pyramid. That just seems kind of strange if they didn't have some sort of communication or influence as to why they were building a pyramid. Like, why would someone thousands of miles away automatically just start building a pyramid, then down in the Aztecs or whatever, the Mayans building pyramids? And it seemed like, I think, the ones in China. What influenced humanity to start going for pyramids? But if you listen to other people throughout history, they've also reported seeing similar things. Every different continent has a different variation of a Bigfoot. Different names for them, but there's descriptions of that. There was werewolves in Europe. Over here, there's werewolves, they call them here, but now we're calling them dogman. Someone asked earlier if dogman and werewolves are the same.
Yes, I have that starred.
Yeah. I was good. In my opinion, I think they are the same. I just don't think humans are turning into the dogman werewolf. I don't believe it's that. But I think if there's something out there from it, they're just naturally that way.
And you know, we're talking about another shape is known as an obelisk, and the Washington Monument has an obelisk on it. We don't know why, but yeah, that particular geometric shape is used, and this is a great question that you ask. And the debate, I encourage everybody to check out Uncharted X. I love his interview with Ross Coulthart on News Nation, and also his discussions with Joe Rogan. Clearly, Joe Rogan is trying to point him towards that civilization, that we were advanced, then the Younger Dryas happened, we lost everything, we were back to sticks and learning how to make fire, and that's how it happened. But I don't think that explains everything. But I think if you're Ben Van Kerkwick, Uncharted X, and you're on Joe Rogan's show and he says, this is what I think happened, you're probably going to go, yeah, it sounds good, Joe. You got 16 million subscribers. But to me, I think it may have been an intervention from another civilization, another intelligence that informed moving those blocks 500 miles to get to the Valley of the Kings. I mean, come on. So anyway,
something else about the pyramids, though. Like, I mean, even as a little kid, if you're sitting out in your yard stacking rocks, it doesn't take long to figure out that shape works better than the other ones. You know, it doesn't topple down whenever you start stacking things.
Yeah.
And over time, let's just say that they built other things besides pyramids. The pyramids are what would last the longest. So it's possible that everybody was building all sorts of different shapes, and that the pyramid shaped things are just the things that lasted the longest and are still around for us to find.
Well, the voice you're hearing right there, folks, is the host of Bigfoot Crossroads. His name is Matt Knapp. He's amazing. Sitting next to him is the host of Tinfoil Tales. His name is Brandon Wright. He, as we found out tonight, is also amazing. And just above him is the owner of the Sasquatch Outpost in Bailey, Colorado, and host of a YouTube by the same name, along with his co-host, Sybilla Irwin. And seated next to him, of course, is the incomparable Boston Bia. So what I want to say, though, Matt, is this is why I really want to encourage you to go to Van Kerkwick's interview with Ross Coulthard and or the Joe Rogan interview. I really like the Ross Coulthard one first, but the reason I say that is because they had built pyramids later on in their history than those that remain in the Valley of the Kings, and the pyramids actually got worse. Okay, so though a lot of them toppled down and were not made of the same construction as the other ones. So we think that somehow they had help building these pyramids, and then when later versions of their culture, the Egyptian culture, attempted to replicate them, they toppled and fell. So we don't know how they were able to get these 250-ton blocks.
I don't know. I agree entirely with the Egyptian pyramids. I'm just saying to the point of there's pyramids all over the world. It wasn't just the Egyptians.
Yeah, I don't think personally, I don't think those cultures built those pyramids. They were built by cultures from outside. I've been to the pyramids in Egypt. I've been inside the Great Pyramid, and the blocks in the middle of the pyramid are absolutely tight, flush against each other. They're the technology. We couldn't build it today. I don't think we could build a pyramid today.
I don't think we could. I want to talk about these boxes. They're at the Serapeum in Toshka. So these boxes now, they're made of a solid piece of granite, and I'll put them up on screen so you guys can look at them. They are 100. Some of these boxes are 100 tons, guys. The lid is 30 tons and the box is 70 tons, made out of one piece of granite, that are in these, I don't know if they're called tombs. I will bring them up on screen so you guys can chew on this. The only reason Ben Van Kerkwick said that they're not in a museum now is because we can't get them out of there.
You can't get them there.
No, there's like a foot clearance on either side in some of they're placed in like these rooms. But I'll bring this up on screen. But how? So what? I don't know if that was you, Brandon, or Jim. No, Jim is the one that said we couldn't make them today. Christopher Dunn, who wrote books on this subject, went and asked a company. They said, we could make this today, but we would probably make it out of 5 pieces and bolt them together if we did them. They said, and so then they pressed Van Kerkwick and go, could we make this? He said, you could make it. However, you're going to need a 5-axis mill, so something that can move on 5 axes to make it out of one piece of granite. And you're going to go through tool after tool after tool, trying to grind away at this extremely hard rock. He said just below diorite in hardness. So people want us to believe that they did it with chisels and hammers. There were flint and copper.
Yeah,
tools is what they found.
It's ludicrous to even think that. So there had to be a technology that came in from outside.
I have heard from people that talked about they use diamond as a way to chisel So I don't know if they've ever found tools to prove that, but that is the theory that I have come across from some other people that have done research. They claim they had diamonds for their tools to chisel some of these things because diamonds like the strongest that they could get that would have carved through these stones.
And even then, but how would you do it without machining tools? Like, how would you be able to do it?
A
That's the
different
thing.
technology that we don't use anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay. I'm going to show you guys.
I mean, that's the thing. That's where my mind always goes with this stuff. So let's just say, for sake of argument, we're going to call them aliens.
Okay.
Came here and gave us the technology or built these things or whatever, but didn't allow us to keep the technology or use the technology after that, and didn't allow us to document the process or the history of it being done. Like, what happened? Why did they abandon us? Why didn't they keep on giving us stuff? Did they stay here hidden and do it?
What do you think of that, guys?
So that's a lid that's kind of catty corner.
Yeah, that's at 30 tons, that lid. And then if I go to another, I can go to another screen and it'll show a guy with a square, and he basically takes a T-square and put it up and shows this perfectly square. So Ben only has a replica, but it's a little vase, right? So just imagine this, guys. How did you get... We can't get him out of there. We don't know how they got him in there, and we can't get him out of there. So just think about that for a second. I'm going to take this off screen. Had you seen these, Matt?
Yeah.
They're incredible, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Couldn't they just built around those things?
That's what I wondered. Yeah.
that might be it. I think Brandon might have figured it out.
I was gonna say that too. That was already in there first, and then they built around it.
There was never any intention to move them out of there, so they built around it.
So now we have a question for we have a question for Van Kerkwijk, is because he may have the date of the carbon dating on the stone and the dating of when the Saqqara tomb was built. So this is
Oh, geez. Now we're talking carbon dating. We can't even agree if that's right or not.
Okay, so he has this vase, right? And this vase, it has two little handles on it. Has anybody seen these other than Bia? Because I know she has. Nobody's seen them? Okay. This vase, they found in a tomb with a person that was 14,000 years old. So that predates, right now we're talking, that predates the Fertile Crescent in Iraq, help me out, in Mesopotamia, and all that.
Definitely.
Okay, so it predates all that, right? The cradle of civilization, of when they say civilized man began. So 14,000 years old. This thing is made out of diorite, so it's like the hardest substance, and it's ground to within 41 thousandths of an inch in circularity, in flatness, in roundness, just perfect. Like he says, aerospace or space program grade of machining, right? Not only that, it has the little handles on it. So even you couldn't use a lathe, what we would want to use as a lathe to actually spin it on. Even if you had a lathe, I'm sure there are lathes that could spin and make something that level of roundness. But how did they make that? How did they make that vase? And it was in a tomb with a skeleton that was 14,000 years old.
3D printer.
Yeah.
I knew Matt was going to say something like that. I knew it was coming.
I mean, that's the thing. So, like, did we have this technology and we lost it for some reason and we're gradually working back towards it? Was it taken from us and just everything wiped clean because we were deemed like unworthy of having it, or where it was headed? Like,
well, that's what Joe Rogan and them is saying. You know, the younger Dryas was, I'm trying to see how many years ago it was. The younger Dryas, they think, was 12,900 to 11,700 years before present. So that's when they think the younger Dryas happened, that destroyed a bunch of stuff. So is it possible? I guess it's possible, but to me, okay, that's disputed, says the allegory of the cave. If you wish it's disputed back to 3300 BC. So Julie's saying she has no faith in carbon dating, or carbon dating is outdated. I can just tell you that tomb where that vase
Here's
was,
the deal, DJ.
Yes, sir.
Take it back 100 years ago and we couldn't do it. This thing could be 200 years old and we still couldn't have done it back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's a good point. Yeah. We couldn't have made it to that level. Brandon, do you have thoughts on this? Because you look like you've got something you're thinking about. The vase or the tomb or
He's always the cat that ate the canary.
Yeah. I think that we don't give ancient people the credit for some of the stuff that they could have been able to do. But I also don't think that they didn't have some sort of help. And I'm not going to say aliens came down here and gave us technologies to use. But what if there was a society of more advanced people that actually knew how to do things and now they're no longer here? And this is going to put on the whole woo-woo side here, but let's just say that the aliens that we're calling aliens, what if they're not actually aliens from a different planet? What if they're a more advanced species of humans or something that were from originally here? Because the Earth is 4 billion years old. Who's to say there wasn't like an advanced civilization that didn't create things thousands of years ago? And look what happened to the dinosaurs. There could have been an extinction thing for their race billions of years ago. They left. Maybe what we're seeing now is aliens are coming back. So maybe the people that were taught how to build these pyramids, or whoever built the pyramids, or whoever built some of this stuff, had technologies that was given to them by the original beings that were here millions of years ago before humans.
Well, Brandon, here's a thought. I personally believe that in many ways Sasquatch is more advanced than we are today. They don't build what we consider to be advanced structures, but they themselves are more advanced than we are and possess abilities that we do not or no longer possess. So, and they're here now. So there's an advanced civilization among us in the Sasquatch people. So
I'd like to agree with Brandon, because if it sounds like I'm saying aliens came here because, like you said, what we can perceive and another intelligence that may be here could have been an advanced race of humans. Absolutely. I think what I'm saying is I don't think it was the Egyptians of the day that figured out how to do it, because it would have taken tools that so what they said is the reason that conventional academia thinks that it was these flint and copper tools, which is absurd, and being able to do this with a reed and sand and all that would be absurd, because it would probably take you 100 years to make that box, for all I know. But and how would you get it that flat and all those things? But the thing is that I think it doesn't necessarily have to be aliens, but I think it wasn't that era of humans that are kind of like us, Homo sapiens sapien, that did it. But it could have been some other kind of a human. I think I'm agreeing with what you're saying, Brandon, in short.
No, basically what I'm just getting at is there was some sort of outside influence somewhere, but I don't think anyone has definitive proof one way or the other. It's all just speculation. People talk about the ancient astronaut theory all the time. When are they coming back? Well, why did they leave in the first place? Why did they build these things anyways and then take everything with them? Like, what was the purpose of all this stuff? I spoke to someone before that claims that they made humans, like they took our old versions of humanity, like you had Neanderthals, like the different variations of humans as we were evolving, and they manipulated us to be their slaves, to do what they had to do with us, and then they got everything they needed, and they left. And now we're just the remnants of that. We've evolved from the original manipulated versions of humanity. Again, that's just a theory. No one really knows, but
it's a good theory. I like it. Anybody want to comment on that before I get back to some questions? No? Okay, we're good. I think this one's for Brandon.
I kind of answered that earlier. I think they're the same thing, but they're not. Like a werewolf, wolfman is not the Hollywood version of where the guy turns into the wolf. I don't think that's what dogman are.
That's fair.
I'm going to say that doesn't include shapeshifters. So I do think, because if you talk to a lot of Native Americans, almost a lot of the different tribes had stories of shapeshifters. So I'm not going to rule out the possibility of shapeshifter. So
Yeah,
that would technically be like a quote unquote werewolf, but I don't think they just turn into a wolf. A shapeshifter can turn into many different things.
Yeah, that's the whole premise of Skinwalker, is all about that, and the curse of that Uinta. I believe it's the Uinta tribe. So, right here, K9 Mind Help 2 is saying the old guys who saw the Yowie near here won't talk to most people about it for the same reasons he just mentioned. The UFO thingy is now way more accepting than but the Yowie, it still exists. I can totally see that. We just haven't made the progress in Bigfoot that we need to. This one, I think this one's for Jim and Matt. It surprises me they stay away from us to the degree they do. Humans would have encroached their space more. Do you find skeletons of these beings? So what would you guys like to say about the skeletons of Sasquatch?
I've never found a skeleton.
I know you guys haven't actually found them yourselves, but what are your thoughts on that topic? Because that's the question we get. Bia and I got that question 2 days ago or yesterday. Jim's on mute, but he's talking.
Them being a different type of people than we are. I have a feeling when they die somewhere else. Not in the dimension that we're living currently. Whether it's just a parallel dimension or something, they die there. Otherwise, we would find their bones. It's logical that we would find their bones. And you can't explain it away simply by saying they bury their dead, because sooner or later we're going to dig one of them up. So they probably do bury them, but they don't bury them where we can find them.
I want to talk about this from the skeptic's point of view.
Please.
Now, without throwing the interdimensional aspect to it, let's just say Bigfoot is a flesh and blood creature because they find footprints, they found hair, they found this and that. So at some point when they're in our reality, they're at least in a 3D world. So they're here interacting in our world.
Agree.
If they were to die here, let's just say someone shot one, there would have to be a body. Or let's just say a tree fell and hit it in the head and it died there. There would have to be a body. I work in construction to where we dig up dirt all the time. We've uncovered things. We've uncovered skeletons, and people use the fact that, well, how many times have you ever come across a bear skeleton or a puma or anything out there? Yes, it's rare, but we know those things exist. How come there's never been any skeleton ever been presented of a Bigfoot or of a dogman or of any sort of other of these cryptid creatures out there? There's never been any sort of evidence to ever prove that anything's ever exist, because we've never had any sort of skeletons. We've never found any sort of bones or any sort of evidence that proves that these things are actually real. And that's why the skeptics are always going to say these things aren't real. And then we make up interdimensional as a way to cope with the fact that, well, this is just a way of explaining it away of why we've never found a body. We're just going to say, well, they don't live here. They're just from a different plane of existence. And then you're not going to convert anyone over to believing that aspect of it again, because, again, it sounds like someone's just making it up even further just to justify their own belief.
Except that we have multiple witnesses who've watched them disappear. So
there's that.
If they disappeared, they went somewhere. Either they just went invisible and they stayed there, or they went somewhere else. So,
but I understand what you're saying, and I'm not trying to argue it. It's just, if you're trying to explain that to someone that doesn't believe in that type of stuff, like they're just going to say, well, that's convenient.
Right. Yeah.
But
yeah, of course.
Here's the deal, though. Like Brandon's saying, these things aren't supposed to exist, right? So let's just take your typical hunter who's walking through the woods, or a hiker or a camper. Take anybody you want that commonly goes in the woods. And let's just say, we know that typically whenever things die out in nature, they go somewhere extremely secluded and remote because they don't want to be food for something else or bothered while they're dying. But let's just say a human ends up in this area, the right place at the right time. And for whatever reason, a bone is protruding from the ground. Maybe there was some storm runoff that happened or whatever. And they come across this bone. Since Bigfoot doesn't exist, it's not a Bigfoot bone. They're just going to see the bone and be like, that's an elk leg or that's a bear bone, and just keep on walking. They're not even going to care. They're not going to give it a second thought. So maybe bones have been found. They were just never turned in. They weren't found by the right person. I've heard numerous stories over the years, a few of them from people that I trust, that matter of factly, they know where a Bigfoot body is at. They know where one is buried at. They know a person that shot one on their property and doesn't want to get in trouble for it because whenever they went and looked at it, it looked human. So they got rid of the body. I don't know if any of those stories are true. Just like I don't know if any of the stories are true about people watching them vanish into portals. That's the problem. None of this stuff seems to allow itself to be proven and documented one way or another, which to me is where it starts to get really weird. I do think that paranormal things don't have hair structures that matches the mammal hair structure of everything else on the planet. I find it very difficult to understand. I'm not saying I don't believe it, but difficult to understand if something has all these psychic abilities, has all these abilities to travel from one dimension to another. Why are they coming here and digging through trash cans? Why are they screaming at the top of their lungs whenever they can just talk telepathically to one another? Why are they ever being seen? Why are they walking out in front of cars on highways? It's so freaking frustrating. I'm 25 years into it, and I don't feel any closer to getting a single answer from the day I started.
Can I help with a little bit?
Sure.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to get to this point a little bit ago, but I'm
Sure.
not to interrupt, but
I can wait. No, go ahead.
We think about things that we don't, just because we haven't seen it, there's no proof. So automatically the skeptic's going to not believe it. How many people believe in religions?
Oh my.
A few.
A few billion. Yeah.
So
a few billion.
The point I was getting to was we can accept the fact that there's no such thing as a cryptid or a Bigfoot or anything like that because we don't have any proof, but yet billions of people believe in a higher power that we have got no proof in. And I'm not saying there's no higher power. I believe in one too. But basically the point is you can't write something off just because we don't have the proof. So that's all I was trying to say.
I want to applaud that one. Here we go.
Yeah, great point.
What I'd like to add is that I have heard from people that have, I'm going to use the word allegedly because I don't have any proof, right? And I didn't see it myself, but that have allegedly made contact with other intelligences that have visited us that are non-human, if you will. And they've said that they also consume food and eliminate waste. In fact, if I wanted to point you guys to something, if you're interested to look into some stuff, there's a book called Way Above Black by Staff Sergeant Dan Sherman from the Air Force. And back in the 90s, he was trained by the government at a facility in like Fort Meade, Maryland, to learn how to communicate telepathically with other intelligences that we had captured, if you will. And in that, he made contact with one and asked him those questions about a higher power. Do they eliminate waste? And they said yes, and things like that. So it's not it is possible that there is some sort of a paranormality or interdimensionality to a Bigfoot, and it also consumes food and eliminates waste. So I just want to put that on the table because there is another, and I can send you guys a copy of that book also. And recently he's been interviewed. Jesse Michaels, one of our colleagues, because everybody here is a content creator. Jesse Michaels of American Alchemy most recently interviewed Staff Sergeant Dan Sherman. He literally hasn't been interviewed since probably like 2000 or something. Like it's been many, many years. So he's not a guy out there that's trying to make money off of what he went through. In fact, he got out of the Air Force when he found out that he felt like he was transmitting to them coordinates where he could make abductions, where they could abduct somebody. So I thought this was absurd and I didn't believe it. And then David Grush came out in 2023 and did that big interview again with Ross Coulthard on News Nation and said, yeah, there have been agreements between other intelligences and humans and the American government. I didn't believe it. I never believed it until, okay, now I've got 2 or 3 sources saying, yeah, this happened. But before that, when I heard the rumor and I talked to Nathan, who both Bia, actually you, Jim, Bia, and Matt know Nathan, the co-creator of Cab. And when he said that, I'm like, nah, I don't buy it. Don't buy it. Nope. Well, it turns out I might be wrong about that. So I just want to throw that out there, that it is possible that Bigfoot could be in our reality and doing very normal things like subsisting, creating babies and all that, and also be going off to somewhere else.
But, I had a thought about that as you guys were talking about, how we've never found bones, but also think of the places like the national forest. You're not going out there to dig either. So the places that they're found are out in nature where, you may not be bringing, if you're out for a hike, you're not bringing any tools to start digging, are we? So just a thought.
You wouldn't know
why
where
are
to
they
dig,
national
right?
forests in the first place?
Right.
Yeah. There was one other thing. I am fairly sure. I don't know how Jim and Matt feel about this, but I am fairly sure that the government has shot and killed some of these animals and took them in. In fact, what our colleague Miguel Ramirez on Sasquatch Theory documented an army troop from Alaska where they went and shot and killed one that was terrorizing a town. And everybody here knows how aggressive the Sasquatch are in Alaska. You don't go on a Bigfoot expedition in Alaska. Don't do it. So anyway, what do you think about that? I know you've heard of them, Matt. You Battle Mountain, Mount St. Helens. Jim, what do you guys think about that? Government having these bodies.
I mean, one of the first thoughts that I thought of whenever I had my sighting, because it was so early on, was the fact that, okay, well, if I can get on the internet and find a group of people and just come out here and see one, which I was so naive at the time, thinking that like, oh, well, now I'm going to have hundreds of sightings. But since that happened to me, that was kind of like the slap in the face of, well, oh my God, if I know about these things, if I can see one, then the government has to know about them. There's no way that the government doesn't know about them. And then over the years, I mean, I'll just be completely blunt, as DJ knows I am at times. As far as like the kill teams and all that, I don't believe any of it. I'm just being honest. I've never talked to anybody personally that I felt was telling the truth and was really part of some organized hunt by the government to eradicate a rogue Bigfoot that was terrorizing. I've never run across that. What I have run across is people that I know personally and have known for years and years and years, including one of my best friends in the world, who says like, yeah, this seems to happen a lot in Texas for some reason. Bigfoot researchers going out to research areas to research Bigfoot, and unmarked government vehicles showing up and asking, what are you doing here? You can't be here. You need to leave immediately. How do they know where they're going? Why is it always Bigfoot researchers? There is a group of researchers that this was well documented. A group of government vehicles pulled up on them, armed to the teeth and like SWAT gear and everything, questioned all of them individually, took their IDs, made copies of it and everything, made them all pack up and leave with no explanation. They were in a park. They were on public land. It wasn't like anything nefarious was going on. So you hear those stories and it's like, okay, well, is the government really watching this? Are they really paying attention to what's going on with the Bigfoot stuff for some reason? So I don't know, man. I've heard stories out of New Mexico in the Four Corners region of, bodies being discovered and the government showing up and taking the bodies. What do you do with that stuff? What would they be doing with the bodies? That's again where my mind always goes, is the why.
Why would they want to keep Bigfoot a secret?
I mean, the only thing that I can think of having spent a lot of time in government and not in the Department of Interior where this information would be held. But I would think because if it's something they can't control, if they thought that it could be eligible for some sort of human rights and land and things like that, it's possible that they would not want to talk about it because it goes way back to Teddy Roosevelt, supposedly having sightings up in the Dakotas. So
but why would they do that in Canada? Why would they do that in Russia? Why would they do that in China?
Okay.
Why would they do that in Australia?
Unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you, but my question, I'm just going to add on to what you just said with UFOs. Why won't they talk about it in Canada?
Yeah.
Why won't they talk about it in Russia? Why won't they talk about it in China? So I think it comes down to a government thinks that their responsibility is to be able, Bia alluded to this very early in the show, that they want to control everything in their domain. And if they can't explain it and they can't control it, they're not going to tell you about it.
But that means that there's a dialogue, at least, and an agreement among every government on the planet where this stuff is going on, that they've all agreed to keep this secret over the years.
They can't agree on anything but that.
No, and let's face it. How good are we at keeping secrets? How good are 50,000 people who know this secret at keeping this secret for their entire lifetime? That's just not human nature. It's not possible that we can keep a secret.
It's working quite well, though, because so many people don't believe it.
Well,
so it's working well, isn't it?
It is. But here's the other thought. If we can read license plates from outer space with satellites, don't tell me we haven't seen Bigfoot.
Oh,
and so have footage of Bigfoot. We have footage of Bigfoot. And
DJ, how far ahead is the military in their technology in that area?
Oh, extraordinarily so. We didn't be able. There were points in time when we couldn't detect UAPs, and now Ryan Graves said when we got an upgraded radar on the FA-18, all of a sudden we're seeing these things in our training areas. And some of the aircraft that had the earlier version of the radar that hadn't been upgraded couldn't see that rotating UFO that was going. It's rotating. Remember that, the gimbal?
Yeah.
So.
And the USO stuff started reacting to it. The ability that we had to be, that we could see them, they started changing their behavior.
Yeah, they're going in the ground now. Unless you're in Canton, Massachusetts, I love that. They're going in the water, but with no splash. That's why I really encourage you guys to watch Age of Disclosure. And you can send me a bill for the $20. And I know Matt's going to do that now that I've said it, because it's going to cost you that much to rent it on Amazon. But Dr. Eric Davis and Dr. Hal Putoff explain what they think is happening and how they're able to create their own time space. And when they go in the water, there's no splash, or how they can accelerate and move, but the time inside the craft is not the same as the time outside the craft. So they can move that looks like they're moving very fast. Julie's saying transmedium here. So there's a lot to it, but I just want to add to the, in terms of Bigfoot being killed, I heard the Apalachicola wildlife officer, when they had the fire in Apalachicola in Florida, I know I said it wrong. How do you say it, Bia?
Oh, what was the word?
Florida.
Oh, Florida.
Yeah.
Florida.
I knew you got some love that.
Florida.
Yeah.
Florida. I don't know why it comes out that way. It's my Boston accent.
Everyone from up north, they say the same in New York. But
and
anyway.
Earlier, when we were saying lemon, I was like, oh, I would have called it lemon star.
Lemon? I know you got to love that, Brandon. You don't get to hear that Boston accent too often, right?
No, I just hear the good old Midwestern and oop.
Yep, just like Julie. So anyway, so yeah, there was the Apalachicola. Those wildlife officers had this thing come barreling out of the woods, singed. They took it to the collection point and then let the veterinarian look at it. And then government guys came out, took those guys out and told them, don't say anything. If you value your retirement, et cetera, don't say a word. And then it was very similar with what happened in Battle Mountain. Very similar. The Alaska one, Matt, when I was listening to that this week, that Miguel did, most of the way through, I was kind of like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I'm buying this story or not. I really don't know. but the one that happened at Fort Lewis that was documented by Wes Germer of Sasquatch Chronicles, he had someone come on that was from the Op 4, basically the opposition force out there at Fort Lewis training. And then about 3 months later, one of the special forces guys came on and told the exact same story that the Op 4 guy told. And that's when I said, okay, this sounds legitimate to me. So I just want to throw that out there.
There's definitely a lot of activity around military bases. I don't know if that's them checking out the military bases or just because of where we strategically place military bases happen to be in their territory.
Yes.
But it even happens like, I was mentioning the Four Corners region. There it is again, that, White Sands is a place where these things have been seen that they should not be there for any reason. And I don't have any explanation as to how they can just kind of show up on camera at military bases, and then whenever they go on foot to intercept them, they're gone. Where they go, you're out in a desert, you don't have any place to go. Military certainly has the optics to find them if they're out there. I don't know if they're going underground or what. I've got no explanation for that stuff, man.
Yeah.
Where would a large primate, if we're going biologically here, just say they're a large primate, why would they be living in the desert anyways with no...
They wouldn't.
That's what I'm getting at. Like, what other primates besides like humans has ever lived in a desert area? So like, there's no sustainable place for them unless they built shelters for themselves. There's no food sources really out there other than whatever you're digging up in the dirt. And there's no like completely usable water sources out in the middle of the deserts where some of these bases are.
This is a great question. I mean, New Mexico they do have streams and brooks and all that, especially as you get to the north near like the Sangre de Cristos and so forth. But yeah, it's a great question. I mean, did you, I know Jim and Matt, you've seen that video from that. I guess the Navajo Rangers did that investigation, John and Stan, where that the Bigfoot went up on that woman's porch and then opened the door or something. And then she has video from her yard, and it literally looks like the Bigfoot come right out of the ground. It's really weird. Have you seen that video where she has that outdoor pool and stuff?
I don't think I've seen that one.
No.
It is freaky, man. Freaky.
So Grissom Air Force Base is 10 miles from where I live. And I don't want to get on a huge tangent about Grissom, but there is a reason they built Grissom where they built it at. And there's a reason they built the Mississinawa Reservoir where they built it at. They built everything into the middle of one of the weirdest places here in Indiana.
Wow.
Why did they decide to build that here? It was called Bunker Hill Air Force Base back in 1940. It was built in 41, and they started training World War II fighter pilots. And then it became Grissom after the astronaut. And there's been tons and tons of UFO sightings over the years in this area. And a lot of it could be the fact that it's the Air Force Base. But the things that people have reported here are not normal Air Force stuff. And I have hundreds of reports from the area.
I talked to a witness that had his encounter on the base here at Fort Sill.
Yeah. So I'm not going to say that every UFO sighting was not just some misidentified airplane flying from the base, because that's probably about 90-something%. But in 1897, we didn't have airplanes when some of the reports were from around here. I come across something of a report that someone had seen a flying airship in 1897 just outside of where I live, and there were beans that came out of it harvesting stuff from the fields, and people witnessed it. And there was a video of an old lady talking about this that they had from the 80s, retelling the story that she'd seen. She was in her 90s retelling it before she died. And I'm not saying it's 100% true, never know, but why would an old lady almost 100 years old lie about something like that? Seems kind of strange.
Right. People are looking to rid themselves of things that they've been holding in for many years. When they get to be that age, they're not looking to kind of like fabricate and make things up.
Is that Cthulhu?
What's that?
Is that Cthulhu attacking you? I saw like a,
Oh no, yeah, she
a
wasn't.
furred
Thankfully.
tentacle.
Yeah, that was Bella jumped up here. This isn't the one that usually attacks me. It's usually Hera. Melissa's asking about the video. I just took a look. I can't find where that video is. I don't remember the reservation, but if you rent the movie American Sasquatch, which Jim right up there in the corner is one of the stars in that documentary, you will see that video, and it is freaky. It's like someone has cameras around their house, and these Bigfoot appear the way that they enter and leave the scene. It's like they popped up out of the ground. It's really weird. Very strange.
I've had someone send me video, and I'm not going to question people like when they say that this is what it is. Like, who am I going to question someone about what I believe and don't believe? Because I don't even believe half the crap that I've seen. So I struggle with that. But they've sent me a video of a Sasquatch, so they say, and it looks like steam or smoke. And they say that's how they travel. That's not like that's the form that they take when we pick them up on our equipment. Like our technology nowadays, they claim back in the old days, like tape, like the old crank tapes and VHS, you could get stuff. They said our technology nowadays doesn't work with them. It doesn't pick them up. So they were trying to tell me that the smoke that they were showing was actually Sasquatch. And the first thing I thought of is it looks like steam coming out of one of the dryer vents. But I can't tell someone that because
right.
that's the way I see it. But they see a Sasquatch. I see steam from a dryer vent. And then I see people that send me stuff all the time, and they're swearing that there's Bigfoot in these photos, and all I see is blurry photos. I don't see what they're seeing. That stuff does more damage than credible to make anyone actually believe in it. Like, you can't take that type of quote-unquote evidence as proof, because when you show it to someone, they're just going to, well, this person's looking for attention. This person's crazy. Like, it's pareidolia.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can see some things that people are saying, like, oh, yeah, that could be something there. But again, looking at it from this perspective of someone that's skeptic about it, you're not going to move anyone to the side of believing with all the quote unquote evidence that I get seen passed around in these communities and everything. So it's doing more damage, I think, than good when it comes to people arguing about whose blurry photo of Bigfoot is the better one and which one's real now, which one's AI. Because anything that actually could be real is automatically getting wrote off as AI.
Well, I'll post stuff from years ago, from the early 2000s, sometimes late 90s. And I'm just sharing the stuff as content. You know, I'm not pushing it one way or another. But people in the comments will instantly be like, AI, that's AI, more AI slop. Like, that's just where the mind goes now. Now nobody trusts anything. So
because we have something to throw it on, right? Like a solution for it. Like, oh, it's AI, so that way you explain it away.
Because that makes us feel safe, right? For those people that are skeptical, and for the people out there that don't believe in these things and haven't ever witnessed anything, or have witnessed something and just explained it away, because that's easier to deal with than the alternative, that all this stuff is real and people are experiencing it, and we can't figure it out and we can't get the answers, because that's the part that scares people the most, whenever we can't dissect it, figure it out, and explain it.
The comment of Sasquatch manipulating digital equipment and draining batteries is very reminiscent to what people say happens when they go out ghost hunting. Like, if you go out recording things, batteries drain. I can attest that I had 3 fully charged batteries when I went out a couple months ago. And within a half hour, all of them were dead, and I hadn't even been using them. So I can't really explain how that happened. So
no. And is it Bigfoot doing it? I don't know, but the phenomenon does happen that it drains. I've known people whose car batteries were drained when they were out. I mean, it's, you know, it's a bizarre thing, but to your point, Brandon, about the blurry photos. I'm sure we've all been to conferences where, one speaker after another gets up there and shows these photos of foliage, and they're like, because you can't see it, then they get out their pen and they outline what's not there. They outline this Bigfoot, and I'm thinking, this is, like you said, this is doing terrible damage to our cause. And there are skeptics in the audience who are like, yeah, that's all you guys do is you just create images out of bushes, and trees, or even worse, I've had researchers put a picture of a tree up and say, now you can't see it, but behind this tree, and I'm like, why are you even showing that? What's the point? You're just proving skeptics right when you say you can't see it, but behind, then don't show it.
There was a guy. I was going to say real fast. There was this guy who's no longer with us. I won't say his name because of that fact, but back in the day, he was one of those guys in the community that just, oh man, people hated him. but he would post photos. He posted a photo of an actual tree stump. I'm not saying he was lying, but it was a tree stump. It was clearly a tree stump. He admitted that it was a tree stump and told everybody that's a Sasquatch that shapeshifted into the tree stump.
I mean, there are Bigfoot investigators who have specifically posted something where there's nothing there, and then put a red circle, and people are like, I see it, right?
Yeah, I see it.
That's actually what I was going to bring up. Is I know for a fact that one of these people that have been at one of the conferences speaking that I've attended, they've been known and outed out as faking stuff, and people still believe it, even though they've been called out, because at this point, people don't care whether someone's outed out or not. Like, they just want to be entertained, and for some reason, that is all they care about, is going to these things and hearing these stories. And the person that was showing the photos up on the screen, I could literally tell was not anything like what they were saying it was, and the audience was eating it up.
Yeah.
So are they there to actually learn, or are they only there just to be entertained by it? Because at that point, I feel like I waste my time, because I'm not trying to be an entertainer. I'm trying to find something for my own self for answers. And then 90% of the people that I've run across just want to talk about their experience of Bigfoot out in the backyard, which is just their trash bag blowing across the ground. And all of a sudden now Bigfoot shape shifting as it's chasing whatever it was.
That's so cool.
That's one of the places that it's gone, right?
Yeah.
And at least since I've been around, whenever I first got involved in the community and got on the internet, it was all Bigfoot researchers. And we were all hanging out on message boards, and everybody's going out in the field and then coming back and reporting what they had found and showing, here's the tracks we found and photographed and everything. And then, God bless it, Finding Bigfoot happened. And the internet got flooded with people that watched Finding Bigfoot and enthusiasts. And then people started gravitating towards content and content creation and YouTube and short form. Give me my stuff right now. I have to be entertained 24/7. And now the Bigfoot community is just a massive tangled mess of all these different factions. You've got researchers, you've got enthusiasts, you've got believers, you've got skeptics, you've got content creators, and we're all just in the same pile. But whoever's voice is the loudest at any given moment is representing the entire community as a whole, and the rest of the world is just sitting back shaking their head at us.
And even within our communities, we don't share data with each other because
not at all.
We're so territorial.
Nope, can't tell you.
We would be 10 years farther ahead in our understanding if we would just openly share. Okay, let's just say not with everybody, but at least within the research community, let's share our data. And I'm like, why? I sell maps at my store of all the places I've seen a Bigfoot or somebody's seen a Bigfoot in our county. Why would I do that? Because people who want to have an encounter, here's where you can go where somebody else has had an encounter. But I've talked to other researchers who are in my area, let's say within 10 miles of my town, and I'll say, they'll be talking about experience, and I'll say, well, where did that happen? And they'll say, Colorado. I say, yeah, I know. Well, I know in Colorado, but where did it happen? Then they'll say, in Colorado. And I'm like,
Yeah.
are you
I'm
kidding?
like,
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I mean, what are you afraid I'm going to do? Go to that. I have too much to do as it is. I'm going to go to that place because you just told me where it is, and I'm going to spoil it. I don't know what we're thinking, but it's
exactly.
ridiculous.
Because you might go there and get the proof.
Before
Yeah.
they do.
Everyone wants that proof. They want their name to be the famous one.
Sure.
It's not about the evidence. It's not about proving something exists. They just want the glory of proving that it exists.
Yeah, I guess.
I just
guess.
want to experience it. I don't care. I've always had this, the community, like in the UFO community, would say, prove it to me. I'd say, I don't have to prove anything to you. I only have to prove it to me. I don't care what you think or don't think. So that usually shuts them up pretty quick. This from Sarah Shock and Horror Ahmad. Hi, Sarah. We love you. Same thing in the paranormal spirits realm, in my opinion. Most people just want to be entertained versus understanding what can and does actually happen. Imp. I think she means, in my opinion, there. I think.
I mean, I will be the first one to admit, and I'm sorry to say this to anyone that might be offended. We sit here and say these things about the Bigfoot community, but the UFO and the paranormal community are just as bad, if not worse.
They are.
It's all toxic.
Yeah.
I've said it.
100%.
And I'm pretty sure that carries over into any niche you want to go into. In any train of thought, school of belief, it's all the same.
Yeah. Don't talk about politics or religion, because we're going to get in the same problem.
It doesn't matter if it's sports teams, like you just said, politics, sports, religion, cryptids, UFOs. There's going to be arguing amongst everybody because that's just human nature at this point.
And I am Verax is saying the real people, that's sole interest in protecting the forest people and have been for a very long time, want nothing to do with the Bigfoot community. Would you guys like to comment on that, Jim and Matt?
I mean, that's the separatist mentality, right? That's the my group is better than your thing that happens in every single belief system, every single little circle of friends, every little clique in the Bigfoot community. You know, it started out as no kill versus kill, then it moved to flesh and blood versus woo, and you know, a lot of those people whose sole interest is protecting the forest people and don't want to have anything to do with the Bigfoot community are also the people that have the biggest Facebook groups and are going to the conferences talking about it. And in my opinion, if I was really just trying to protect the forest people, I wouldn't tell anybody anything about that. I don't know what you're talking about. Bigfoot's not real. What the hell's wrong with you?
Exactly. The best protection is to pretend like they're not even there.
Yeah.
Why?
Would you like to talk about that real quick? Anybody here would like to take on what are the forest people?
I was getting ready to bring this up.
Okay.
I've talked to very many people who refer to these things as forest people, and they speak to them telepathically, and they are their guides. They are their spirit realms. They give them names and all this other stuff. I was like, then how come you don't have any proof of that? Like, how come there's no photos of these things? People have told me that they come up to their houses. They see them all the time. Like, they have families. They've brought their children up there. They've had them dancing in their backyard. I was like, all right, this is kind of getting out there.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not going to argue with a guest on my show because I'm here to let everyone know or speak whatever they believe that they're talking about. So that's not my prerogative to try and argue with people. But in my position, I want proof. Why is it that these things are so friendly to certain people, but yet no one has any sort of proof? Well, we're protecting the forest people. What are the forest people? Well, they're our spirit guides. So wait a minute. Are they people or are they spirits? Like, where are we getting at? Like, and if you talk to certain people, each person has their own variation of what these things actually are. So again, is it all people just making up BS at this point because they're just trying to make themselves feel like they're a part of something and making themselves feel special by going around telling people that they communicate with these forest people. Or
And but you can never measure that scientifically in any way. The mind speak. I'm not saying it never happens. I'm just saying I can tell you whatever I want to tell you that they've told me. That can never really be measured or proven. So, yeah, I mean, if we can't show any proof, I'm certainly not going to talk about something in a conference or even on a podcast that I can't give people some kind of evidence that it really happened. And so we've had a lot of things happen that I have no evidence for. I just don't talk about it because it's not worth the speculation that's going to come that, well, then you're just making it all up. And to be honest, they're not wrong to think that. That's not a bad conclusion if I can't give them any kind of proof. But then we can also show them proof and they say, yeah, but that's AI or whatever, So at the end of the day, I have to be convinced that what I'm doing is worth something and that I'm getting further along, at least in my own mind, of my understanding of Sasquatch. And if people don't believe me, they don't believe me.
Yeah, that's okay. They can believe what the people are often going to believe what it is they want to believe. So
which is why I tell people, come with me in the woods, spend several days in the woods. I promise you that I'm not fabricating anything that happens to us while we're out there, and you make up your own mind.
You're a trustworthy cat. Let me ask you this. I want to ask you, the three of you, because Bia wouldn't know the answer to this question. I don't know.
Hey,
no,
she might know the answer.
Okay, it's not a question. It's an opinion, but neither of us are informed enough to have an informed opinion. All right, here we go. So, but nice job there, Matt. I like you and Bia have had a big turnaround since the beginning.
I know. Thank you for sticking up for me.
What's the
I have many opinions.
Oh, she sure does.
Turnaround. You make it sound like I was mean to her or something.
You made fun of her like as soon as you came on air the first time, but
she's from Boston.
Fair enough. All right, here we go. Matt, and then I'm going to go to Brandon, and then I'm going to go to Jim on this question. Are there people? I want to just share because I want to just piggyback off of what Brandon said, and this is going to be the final question. We'll get you guys out of here. It's been 2 hours. I also have heard people talk about habituations, which I think are not grounded in reality. I think they're probably made up to be put on podcast and have people go, oh, wow, that sounds really cool. And have you ask a bunch of questions that aren't, that none of it is grounded in truth. With that, Matt, do you believe that there are legitimate Bigfoot habituations that have happened with people around the United States somewhere?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Okay. There are situations where people live in an area where these things also live, and that Bigfoot has deemed them not any sort of threat or anything like that, and don't really mind showing themselves or whatever. Now, does that go to the level of they come inside and hang out and drink tea together? Those stories I have a little bit hard time believing. I guess it's not impossible, but in terms of just strictly habituation where they become accustomed to a human, so they go back to their normal behavior, yes, I think that happens.
Yeah. I hear they're probably going to want like agave nectar or something. They're not going to want like processed sugar. But anyway, Brandon, your thoughts on that? Do you believe that there are legitimate habituations?
I believe there's something. I don't exactly know where, who, what, but I do believe that there is something out there, and I do believe people are seeing it and are experiencing it. But I don't necessarily know if it's the same as I keep hearing music, and it's kind of throwing me.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, this is Save It for Later. My friend Hank recorded Eddie Vedder's
I didn't know if it was
me
or what. I kept speaking. I heard music.
Sorry.
I'm looking in the chat, and it says no knower needs or wants to prove anything to Brandon, D-Mart, and anyone else get out there and experience the beings every day, then let's chat. I'm going to ask a question. If you have experienced them and you don't want to prove to me or anyone else that you've experienced them, that's fine. But if you're not willing to share that experience or talk about it or have any sort of proof, then how can you expect anyone to take you seriously? And if you don't care if people take you seriously, then why even bring it up in the first place if you're to protect them?
If you don't want to share knowledge or experience, why? I don't think that question's posed at you right there. I think this question is posed at people. It's kind of like what Jim said, where people come in and they don't want to share their research area with you and they want to keep it a secret. It's like, why are you keeping it a secret? What do you think?
It was underneath that. It's from I am Varix.
Oh, okay.
I was just answering what they were saying.
Oh, okay. I thought I don't know if it's an add-on. Okay, no knower. Okay, no knower needs one to prove it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's just nobody was saying that. Nobody was saying that anybody needs to prove anything to anyone. Brandon is saying that he wants to get proof for his own, for his own mind. He's doing what I'm saying. He's proving it to himself. He doesn't need to prove it to you, me, anyone in the chat, or anybody else. So there's that. You were finished with that thought about habituation, I believe. So let's go on to Jim.
I definitely think there are people who, as Matt said, have them coming around their home because they've gotten used to them, and the Bigfoot don't feel they're a threat because they've never threatened them. And I also believe there seems to be some people, and I don't know why this is, who are Bigfoot magnets. Everywhere they go, they have encounters. And I would love to figure out how that is or why that is, because it's, I know when I want to go out and spend several days, I try to grab some of these people to go with me because it's going to be a ride. And so, but I don't think you can ever guarantee that they're going to be anywhere or show up anywhere, because they have their own minds. They're going to do what they want at the end of the day.
I know you're wanting to wrap this up, but you just brought up a good point.
Please go ahead.
You mentioned people have these experiences all the time. Why is it that some people are able to have all these experiences? Like they go out into the woods and they're able to have an experience, or people like Matt had one when he first went on his first one, but ever since then he's looked for it and never had another one, or people have searched for their whole lives and never had one at all. But then there were people that go out every single weekend and all of a sudden they're talking about all these crazy stories of being chased by Bigfoot or be a dog man and everything else. And then again, that goes back to what I was saying earlier, within the community, everyone eats that up. And then all of a sudden they're on 18 million podcasts and they're all doing all these things. And at this point, it's gotten to be a song and dance for me, because it feels like the people that are out there are actually boots on the ground doing all the work. They're not getting those experiences half the time, but it's just like these random people that all of a sudden are claiming fame of being these researchers are out there getting all these experiences left and right. And all they're trying to do is be podcast famous, which what do you get from that? I don't understand the reasoning as to why it's become this way, because all it does, I feel like, is harming the credibility of actual people that are putting in the work doing it.
I think there are some people I know Matt pointed out to me somebody that had been on a lot of shows talking about his experience, and I thought it was legitimate, and Matt pointed out to me how it was kind of a carbon copy of somebody else's experience. So yeah, I think there are people trying to do that. The only thing I could offer that may be completely invalid, and Jim and Matt might laugh at me right now, and you might too, Brandon, and probably be well just to join in. But I think it's possible that you have a certain type of an energy and a persona that when you're out in the woods, it's like when you walk into a room, like you go into a dinner party, right? And people are talking, relatively quietly. And when you walk in there, people are going to feel a certain energy from you. Is that fair to say? Would everybody agree with that? You're not in a bar where it's raging, right? You're in a room. So when you walk in there, you're going to carry a certain energy, a certain aura, whatever that happens to be. And I think out in the woods, it could possibly be the same, where a Bigfoot might want to approach you and maybe why children seem to have some very benign encounters is because they have a certain innocence to their energy, and that could be part of it. That's the only thing that I can offer that for whatever.
I think there's stuff going on that we don't know about, that we don't understand. There was a guy that I was friends with named Randy, and I've talked about Randy off and on over the years. Again, he's no longer with us, but he was a Native American that lived here in Oklahoma. He was a pastor, and him and his wife were into Bigfoot. There was Bigfoot that came onto his mother's property and tore up a shed and stuff. I saw photographs of all that stuff. And they would have kind of get-togethers in the backyard at his mom's place where everybody just come over and sit in lawn chairs in the backyard. And the Bigfoot would come up to the tree line and, you know, whoop at them and stuff. And they'd look at their eyes shine bobbing around, and it was just a form of entertainment. But Randy was one of those Bigfoot magnets like Jim was talking about. And this guy, him and his wife, Christina, would get in their minivan and just drive. And I swear to you, this man, he drove straight to my research area, had never been there before, didn't know about it, and captured what I consider a photograph of juvenile Bigfoot.
Wow.
Just drove straight to the spot and did it. And the thing was just there. And I saw this man had multiple photos of Bigfoot, and he was so technology backwards. He was just going out there with a disposable camera and getting it, you know, developed at Walmart in 30 minutes. And he would bung them up real big. He'd have them enlarged and everything and carry them around in his minivan with him and show them to people and stuff. But he didn't have the internet. He wasn't after fame, nothing. But that man could drive straight to a Bigfoot. I've got no explanation for it. He would go into areas and talk to them. He would go into areas and stomp his feet, and then the woods would explode. I've witnessed that personally. No explanation for it, but some people just seem to be on the right wavelength or something.
And I also think we don't choose Bigfoot. Bigfoot chooses you. And I think that's the difference.
I agree. I think that's kind of like what you're saying. Did you have any thoughts on that, Brandon and Jim? And then we'll close it out there.
I think that things happen the way they're supposed to happen to put us on the path that we're doing. So I was meant to see what I saw, even though I wish I didn't, because we wouldn't be having this conversation and I wouldn't be thinking about it here almost 19 years later. But had it not happened, I wouldn't be where I am today.
I love it. That is one of the most incredible encounters that I've heard, and I'm very excited to have you come back. I'm going to invite you back on, Cat, again.
Can I just say something real quick, since it hasn't been brought up, and Brandon hasn't brought it up, so I'm going to. Brandon was featured in the movie Begonia, by the way.
Okay, tell me.
His podcast is in it. His voice is in it. I watched the movie just recently. I haven't even talked to him about it yet. But it's all about aliens and conspiracies and stuff. Amazing movie. Jesse Plemons is in it as the lead role, and Emma Stone. So like Brandon's saying, if that hadn't happened to him, he wouldn't have been in a major Hollywood release. So it's kind of crazy where these roads can lead us.
Yeah. And I am doing a documentary. I am filming a documentary called The Mississinawa Triangle, which is all about all the high strangeness that's going on here in my local area. And I've got a lot of interviews that I've done with a lot of people, like locals. So there is a lot of Bigfoot activity. There's a lot of quote unquote werewolf activity. There's a lot of UFO stuff. There's a lot of paranormal stuff. Like, this is a hotbed of high strangeness in this little tiny town. And again, had I not experienced what I experienced, I would not have been in a Hollywood movie. I would not be doing a documentary. We wouldn't be having this conversation. I wouldn't be doing a podcast. So everything happens for a reason. So I was meant to see whatever it was that I saw, and I'm meant to be searching for whatever it was that I saw. The reality of it is, though, I may never get that answer, and that's what bothers me the most about it.
That's the fuel you need to keep going to the end of your life. I actually think in this case, I think both things are true. I think fate is part of it. And I also think that animals, and in this case, Sasquatch is kind of a, quasi-human. I think that they also can sense things and who that they might want to interact with. Canine Mind to also kind of amen that. And, it's open to interpretation, but I think they can certainly feel an energy that they want to interact with. And obviously, if you're out there with a 7 mag and you're hunting buck, they're probably not going to approach you the same way as a hiker if you're feasting on the same food that they are. Jim, any thoughts on that?
I want to make one comment.
Yes,
comment. This is funny to me. I got a flamethrower for Christmas. So, and I don't know how. I know how they say that Sasquatch knows what guns are. So I don't know if they know what a flamethrower is. But that is going to be going out with me on my next little expedition. Someone says when we go out looking for Dogman again, I need to bring the flamethrower. So we'll see what happens.
I love it. Whatever.
You're the first researcher I've heard of taking a flamethrower into the woods. So
I never said I was a researcher. I'm looking for answers, and if I got to burn the woods down, I guess I will.
Okay, Jim, any thoughts about intention in the woods? It sounds like Jeff was saying you do subscribe to that. What's your
100%? And I think what happens is what's meant to happen. I agree with the other guys, and we're not the ones that determine if that's going to happen. They determine it. So I do believe if you go in with an unhealthy intention, or I want to kill them, or I just want to photograph them, or they're going to know that, and they're going to back out. They're going to back off. And so I even tell my folks, if we hear something when we're out here on the trail and they're shadowing us, don't turn your light and blind them. Just keep walking in the dark and let them approach you as much as they want, and they will. So I agree 100%.
I love it. Thank you so much for that. And Canine Mind Help too is thinking you should bring some treats out there for
And the dog
Dogman. So
whistle.
yeah. Okay. So consider bringing some dog treats. You never know. It might work. Boy, this was, we're like, man, what's this going to be like? Really cool bringing us. Would you call yourself a cryptid researcher? How do you refer to yourself in what you do? Uh-oh, wrong thing there. Sorry.
Me?
Yes.
I'm just a guy with a microphone.
Okay. Had to bring in a guy with a microphone in with Bigfoot researchers. And man, this was a fantastic discussion. I couldn't be happier with how this turned out. So all of you guys are going to be back. Brandon, please come back when we'd like to have you back. How soon do you think you'll be done with the movie? Are you still shooting, or are you in the editing phase at this point?
A little bit of both. There's 4 different people that I have to do interviews with.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a lot of stuff already filmed. So I've been putting things together, and then once I get those interviews done, I'm going to put them in there, and then hopefully here in the next couple of months have it done. But distribution can take up to 6 months. So I'm trying to get it out on Amazon and everything like that, like actually released. So there's a process, and it says it can take up to 180 days for it to get out there.
Please come back and see us, man, so we can promo it and talk about it, because clearly, as you can see with Matt, one conversation with you isn't nearly enough. So
I'll definitely come back.
Say again. I'm sorry. Say again, sir.
I'll definitely come back. Just get a hold of me. I'm usually available when I'm not doing my own interviews.
Yep. And boy, now you are starting to sound more like Matt again. I love it. Jim, thank you very much for co-hosting another one of these. I hope it was as fun for you as it was for us.
You bet. It's great fun. Thank you.
Yep. Boston Bia.
Have a good night, gentlemen. Thank you. Great talk.
Matt, you're the man. You know that, right?
You're the man, DJ.
No, I'm not.
You have a great voice too. You all do.
You guys have great voices. All right. On behalf of my My guests here, the mods, thank you very much, everybody who contributed to the conversation. Peace out, one love, and we'll see you down the road. Peace.